Alright guys, welcome to the first of a few of the new video we have going on the Turtle Club YouTube channel called Countering the Meta with me, your host, Brandon. Today we're going to talk about the obvious elephant in the room, probably one of the better, definitely one of the best blue decks right now, probably one of the better decks in the meta in general, Gamma 1 and 2. So we have about 3 main points we'll talk about with this one. Ones that you really kind of need to think about and realize whenever you go into this matchup. For us personally, we're planning on testing a lot for MomoCon in Atlanta here soon. So definitely wanted to get this out before you guys, some of you might end up going to MomoCon, so hopefully this can help you out. So initially, you really want to look at hand size. It's kind of the main thing I like to think about with Gamma. Depending on what deck you're playing, your hand size is pretty much always going to beat them. So for initially, Gamma draws 1 a turn using untap effect. On the Awakened side, they do have a leader swing that draws them a card. However, on the back side, they're using their leader ability at the end of turn to go ahead and draw a card. So otherwise, they're not really plussing anything from any other cards. Their Cell 9 doesn't draw a card. The 17 and 18 they play from energy, they don't draw, they just cycle out energy. Any of the Z cards and stuff like that, they don't draw much anyways. And obviously, super combos are just a refill. So they're not really drawing anything, pretty much just a leader effect with this. Comboing offensively feels pretty rough, right? So if you're able to bean your leader or have a 20k leader with like the Sin Shenron Z leader, it's going to be hard for them to combo on the small guys. So if you're able to pump yourself up a little bit, definitely can stop some of the swings that might go through. They draw the most on their Awaken turn, so they're going to have leader swing, then they're going to Awaken to untap 1 and draw 1, and then they're also doing the leader effect. And not only that, sometimes if they're stuck at 8, then they take down to 6, I believe. So it's a lot of cards in hand on that plus. Other than that, not too much throughout the game that they're plussing with. Their energy does act as an extension of their hand, though, so keep that in mind. Even if they do have a small hand size, always keep in mind that they have threats that's relevant that are going to come out. They have the Cell Ultimate Bio Android, they have the Dual Attacker 17 and 18, as well as the 17 and 18 15k weenies that come out too, so always keep that in mind. Negating Leader is pretty big against this deck. Stops their untap at the end of turn as well as their draw, so if you're able to like release from evil their leader swing or something like that, if they're trying to just get some pressure and maybe kill a weenie, you can just go ahead and negate the leader swing. That way they're not going to go ahead and untap that 3 energy. If they're counterplayed, 14 to Poe, which is the Android 14 Topo, still pitches on counter effect, so it's basically a neg 2. If you're able to go ahead and stop it with like a Beerus Ball or an Absolute Release Ball or anything like that, if you're able to stop it from coming out, they basically just neg 2 in hand because they have to pitch on the counter effect. And lastly, with the hand size, Broly Crown is never a bad play. I'm a red player. I don't know if you guys have seen the videos on here, but I play mostly red. I've got a couple stuff on the channel, so I love Broly Crown. Personally, I always typically like to play it when someone has 2 open. Now I know it can be Android 18s, or it can be the one-drop counterplay that untaps basically, so it can be hit, but it's never really a bad play. You're still getting something out of their hand. You're still getting a body on board that you can counterplay with something else, like a Gohan, TP, or pretty much anything. Maybe like Frieza counterplay, just pop it and stuff. So it's never a bad play. It just might not always be optimal. So in regards to hand side, that's pretty much that. Now we move on to strength/kill potential. So these are things you need to worry about and think about whenever you're going in. That basically happens on their turn, right? So Cell 9 and 17 and 18 dual attacker being countered hurts. So if you're able to kill the 20k outright without them being able to swing twice, that's pretty nice. I know they do get a removal on it. It's something that's greater than or equal to your energy. So if you have a lot of energy, you're not really going to be losing anything necessarily. Cell 9 gets beat by Token Negate. I love Token Negates against Cell, the Ultimate Bio Android. Personally, being able to take a Token Negate, take a life, because you're pitching on if you negate during the swing. So basically, it's an even trade, and then you're also getting a blocker on board to stop that second swing. Unison getting rushed down hurts their game plan, right? So they have that Unison. Sometimes, I know they were doing it before where they're playing it on 2 and halting the Awaken, basically. If you can get rid of it, that's great. If they don't have the Unison, also, they're not using that Android 18 counterplay. You need to have Unison out for it to go down to 1. So if you get rid of that and you're able to rush it down, it definitely hurts. It's also, they're losing a 50 or a 25k dual attacker. They're losing a 20k leader pump potentially on either turn because they're going to combo with a 5k from drop and gain a marker as well. So it does a lot of cycling, but it barely pluses the hand. So this kind of goes in turn with the hand size. They're cycling a lot, they're searching, but they're never really plussing. So even though they're kind of thinning their deck out, their hand's never getting bigger than it already is. So hand rip does also hurt them a lot. So if you're able to make them bottom deck cards, if you're able to topo them, that's also pretty nice. Don't run into any counterplays with it, obviously, but if you know that they don't really have a way to stop it, man, hitting them with a topo, hitting them with anything that's just going to make them waste cards in their hand, they're not going to like. And even though they do have the energy, still, you need cards in hand to win the game. Pumping leader helps versus weenie 15k plays, so their Android 17 and 18 energy plays, their Android 14 topo, anything that's small and is swinging. If you're able to pump your leader and get out of those swings basically pretty early, then that'll definitely help. Last but not least, always ETBW, expect the board wipe, right? So they have a lot of board wipe for a blue deck. They have Cell, the Ultimate Bio Android, which bottom decks the whole board. They have Cell, Awakening of the Created, which is the Z card for blue that basically sucks up the whole board and is a possible dual attack crit with triple strike if you suck up 4. Then they also do have the Secret Rare. Then they do have ways of getting rid of the board in general. They have the Beerus Z card, which that's basically a board wipe because it's going to swing multiple times and get rid of a lot of stuff, either ignoring barrier or just regular. So lots of board wipe. So try to keep an eye and keep the awareness of your board state because that's always going to be very important going against Gamma. Now we go on to the crackback, right? So this is when it's your turn. This is how you play it out when it's your turn after they've done their stuff and they have they untap their 3 or potentially have 4 open for the Android 21 counter and stuff like that. So this is basically what you need to knowing going into your turn. So it's tough for them getting set early. So aggro definitely does hurt. They really kind of want that maybe 2 to 3 turn play where they're awakening and they're getting their stuff all set up. So if you're able to rush them down with like Sin Shenron or some Gogeta plays or anything like that, definitely hurts. Deny cards in hand if possible. Swing on Unisons or battle cards. So again, you don't want them to have cards in hand. You don't want them really to get life. Obviously, you need to know when to push. But sometimes denying cards in hand is pretty nice. If you can get rid of the board, then they have to constantly play out cards and kind of reestablish the board state. So sometimes swinging on the Unison, rushing that down like I was talking about, or swinging on battle cards, getting rid of the barrier 17, getting rid of the crit 18, getting rid of the topo, anything like that. You're able just to take care of those, so you're denying cards in their hand, and then they have to reestablish basically. Also, know when to hold them and know when to roll them. So this goes back to not giving them cards in hand, know when to kind of just lay low, play it out, be prepared for the crackback on their side. And then also know when to push in and roll them a little bit. Know when to hit them with that triple striker. Know when to play your big Gogeta 8 cost and your Secret Rare and have that crazy turn where you're Z leading and having that crazy untap turn. So just be prepared to know when to do that and obviously when to go in. Now, big thing is their defense lies in heavy counters and floodgates. As you can see, I have pretty much most of the floodgates and the negates they have in their deck. So they have the Android 14 Topo, they have the Gohan, they have the Android 17, obviously D-Magic, Android 21. They have Dirty Burst, Absolute Release Ball, Android 18, Let the Battle Begin. So a lot of counterplays, a lot of things that they can do on your turn. Just be prepared for it. Like I said, you can Broly Crown, you can Secret Rare with the Vegito, you can rip cards out of their hand. They're going to try to want to keep specific ones, that way they can keep themselves safe. So sometimes playing into that and knowing that they're going to have pretty much everything, because this deck has a lot, might help with those later turns. With that, be careful of the Android 21 counter. Can remove ignoring barrier, so don't think you can just swing on with some giant barrier card. They do have removal now on your turn. It does cost 4 though, so keep that in mind and be ready for that when it comes out. Most floodgates use battle cards for effects, so you get basically a free leader plus unison swing. So I know the Android 14 is just anything, so if that comes out, obviously, but they're really only running 2 to 3 index now. It's not really the 4 of like it used to be since we have everything else. So they've had to cut that a little bit. So, but otherwise, the Gohan Power Unshackled, which is a 3 cost, the new SH card, that one's for battle card swings. Android 17 Defending Friends is battle card swings. Android 21 Full Power Counter is non-leader swings. So you do have a lot of leader swings available. So swinging with like Sin Shenron leader or anything that has dual, double strike is really just kind of free. Obviously, they're gonna have to bust a negate on that one, like a hard negate. But sometimes, it's definitely worth it because you don't have to actually pitch for that effect. Plus, your unison definitely can swing, just not with the Android 21 full power counter or the Android 14 card. They can activate Super Gohan Rare Gohan since it's an 8 cost, so be cautious with dual attackers. So they can just go ahead and charge that, Z energy and then pay that blue. And basically get rid of a 5 or less. So if you're going against the mirror, or you're going against something, or if they're going against the mirror, or they have something that they know they need to get rid of because it's got another bigger swing, or clear something else on board that you didn't swing with at first, they can just Gohan. I know the leader says it's like 7 or less, so you basically just use that 8 cost, and it's definitely activatable. So. The Android 18 counterplay needs unison to reduce. I talked about this in the earlier slide. It only reduces if it's an Android card and you have a unison with a specified cost of 2 or more. So they might also, or it definitely counts with the Boo unison too. Some lists are running it, some aren't. It's a one of, so I'm pretty sure most of them have it in there. So as long as they have a unison out, they can reduce it. If they don't, though, you don't really have to worry about it unless they want to tap 4, but then they're going to be tapping themselves out and setting themselves up for failure, basically. And then the Android 14 is a -2 for auto skill, so be prepared to counterplay. So hitting him with a Beerus ball or anything that can take care of it before he hits the board is going to be very good. It's a -2, automatic -2 basically. So if you counterplay it, then it's going to be pretty detrimental to their game plan because they don't have a lot of hand size, so they need as many cards in their hand as they can. In conclusion, Gamma's hand size is never huge. Know the weaknesses of its strat and plan for countering it. Always expect the board wipe. Board state is key. Don't put a lot of stuff out on turn 3 and they're about to go into turn 4. Because they don't have any negative impact on just playing Cell and wiping your whole board, and then you just set all that up just to get a couple damage in. So, always prepare for that. Gamma equals negate city. Be prepared for constant defense, but learn the openings and push when able. So know when you have the availability to prepare. Know when you have the bunch of negates in the drop area and you're counting them out. Gamma's a tough matchup. You're going to have to think a little bit harder than you normally would with some pretty brain-dead caveman decks. But Gamma, man, a good Gamma player can destroy an entire event. So always be prepared to know those openings and to push. Also, last but not least, it's a possible 10-life opponent with that Secret Rare. So be ready to deal more damage than usual. That Secret Rare is a monster. So those are the things you guys need to look out for. Feel free to put your other suggestions in the comments of what else we need to look out for, and be expecting some more countering the meta videos to come in the future, guys. Hope this helps. Talk to you later. Bye.